Does the conquest of the planet Apes draw a crowd, or should we steer clear of this army of apes? Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of Conquest of the Planet Apes. Do you like it, not like it, or is it somewhere right in the middle where it doesn't connect with you as a whole? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe if you're ready to join this film culture community where we talk about film each and every chance we can, and join in this respectful comments in their comments below. And going right into the synopsis. In a futuristic world where ape slavery is accepted widely, a chimpanzee named Caesar is getting out of hiding from this circus for the past 20 years and is preparing to go on a revolt. And starting off with a positive, overall, as a whole, there's a general gist of what you get from the apes as a whole. Their costumes and makeup and everything are good as always, but standing into different grounds of what this film has to offer that the others don't. It goes about a darker tone that handles everything well, and it has a comical route at first with what you get with Caesar being naive at first, with just the general environment of what he's going into, being stuck in the circus for 20 years and going into this world of apes as he's trying to go into blend in, not get caught as the one talking ape that was born of what we get from the previous film. That was a big and good plot twist of the last film, but what we get going into this film is a darker tone that really works wonders to what you get out of this franchise, and it is more contained within the general gist of things. There's a bit of a thematic element that works better and stands out more than the previous film, that really goes about this allegory about racism and social injustice, just the potential and even mention of freedom and the ideas that you're going for with this, and your understanding with where this franchise is going, where the previous three films were more contained and sort of had an ending that didn't allude to what's going to happen next. This one sort of almost leaves you on a cliffhanger of sorts that's not directly leaving you at a part where you wanting too much more necessarily to some regard, but still wanting you to watch something that's going to happen next, and you understand the process that this film is taking place, as once you know where it is headed from what you get with all the information processed within the first Planet Apes films, it starts to build all the ideas and things mentioned throughout the previous things and films before this, and establishing and mentioning like the plague of the cats and dogs, how they're wiped out, and certain ideas that go about along the ways that establishes the ground and adds the little teasers of things you were paying attention to within the last that gets fulfilled in one sense and alludes to how things are going to progress, and your knowledge of the film shows that it is going to a darker route that becomes something that's entertaining to some sense, but also there's another part where you're not loving to watch it because you're recognizing the rebellion of the apes against the monkey, what is all going on, but just the slavery of the monkeys is building something that surfaces a darker idea to what you're getting out of this franchise, and yet it still builds something that's almost uncomfortable to watch, even if it is good and well portrayed to the story being told as a whole, that builds upon its own building blocks in a way that I really enjoyed the natural progression of how it stepped up its story building and how it told its narrative with a good enough pacing along the way. But going into some of the mixed elements, ultimately, like I mentioned at one point, there is a part of the story where it kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger. It kind of leaves you on something where you're wanting a little bit more. For me, that just means I'm wanting to watch the next film sooner, and it's almost like this is a part one to the story, and that's part two. Obviously, it wasn't named a part 1 or part 2 in that regard, and so it could turn people off for what someone would want out of something that fulfills this piece of the story. It didn't bug me as much, and so that's where I'm putting it within here instead of a negative factor to the film. And there's some parts of the scenes that may draw on a little too far, and with the information to what you get out of the story, this is a theatrical cut that I watched, where there is also an uncut version that you can still watch within some disc. And along that lines, the uncut version has extended scenes of violence and the riots that run on a bit longer, which I heard from others can be a bit more fulfilling to watch for where the franchise is headed. But having only watched the theatrical cut myself, it still stands good on its own feet, and something that I was still able to fulfill, at least just with my bias of having only seen the theatrical cut that I have to talk about and base my own thoughts on. And going into the negatives, ultimately there's a predictable element that is more jarring in this film than some of the others, just with the way the story progresses. Obviously, you're just generally getting a spoiler to how this film turns out and where it is leading to in the next film, because of what you're getting from all the information to the first few films. And that's not a huge turnoff in any sense by the means, because obviously if you're creating this circled time loop based on what the story is going to, causing certain events to act out in a way that's inevitable to the natural progression of the environment of the film, what you're getting with the ape slavery, things getting fulfilled by their own destiny and by the prophecies that are being mentioned, they're not going to dismiss any of that. And so the ape revolt and uprising brings about these darker tones to what they're bringing about, and so it can really turn people off. I wasn't huge into it. There's certain parts of the film that were a bit slower, and the tension was brought a little bit lower than I would have expected and would have wanted, because of that predictability element that sort of took about some of the surprise, that didn't have too much of a plot twist between something a character did or a new element or new character that's brought about in the same lines, because Caesar is really the only main character that you get out of the apes outside of his owner, who he brought from the circus, and everything that goes about that. There is a good sense of characters within the villains in some regard, but it isn't fleshed out to the fullest extent, to where this is more for the event-based action of the film than what you're really getting from the characters outside of Caesar as a whole, and the monkeys being more on following his side and following his pursuit of a revolt. So generally that can take away from the film from going about its full extent, but overall I generally enjoyed this film, giving it a simply 7 out of 10. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this film. Was it good, was it bad, or somewhere in the middle where it doesn't always connect with you? Let's talk it out in the comments below, and like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're already, and I have reviews on all the others that I'll be reviewing leading up to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And thank you for watching. Bye for now.